going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Red Gold Standard podcast. My name is Zach Hernandez, and I am joined by my co-host, Matt Llewellyn, and our guy, Mike Andrews of Nothing But Niners. Tonight, we are going to be breaking down the 49ers 30-12 victory on Thursday Night Football against the New York Giants. But before we do, hit like, hit subscribe. But if you're tuning in on Twitter, head over to youtube.com/49ers Hive. It's scrolling across the bottom of your screen, and tune in from there. We're not ignoring your comments on Twitter. We just can't see them. youtube.com/49ers Hive. And while you're there, you might as well hit like and hit subscribe. Matt, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing good, Zach. I'm a little weird to have football Sunday without the 49ers playing and waiting a couple days to talk about what they did on Thursday night. Thursday nights are always tough, but you know, it's good to be here to talk about that. Wild day in the NFL otherwise, though. How you guys doing?
Yeah, definitely. It's a nice stress-free Sunday since the 49ers already got that week 3 win locked up. Mike, how you doing this evening or night over there, I guess?
It's definitely night over here, but I'm great, man. You know, football is like, it's incredible how like games can affect your mood, right? Like the Niners win, I'm in a good mood. The Cowboys lose, I'm in a good mood, and I got both this weekend. Like, oh my God, I couldn't ask for much else. I couldn't ask for much else. And then I got the day off tomorrow. Well, not off. I'm working from home. My kids are staying home from school, so it's going to be a late night. We're letting the kids stay up late, do a little bit of running around tomorrow, and get to spend some more quality time with the kiddies tomorrow. So I'm excited about everything, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know, it's funny you said the Cowboys. I'm happy the Cowboys lost, but I thought for sure there's no way they're losing against Arizona. So I included them in my parlay. Bad decision. Very bad decision. So it is what it is. At least the Chiefs covered. I think, yeah, Seattle won, but Dallas.
Hey, Zach, I got a question for you. Did Miami cover today?
Very closely. Just barely, I think.
Barely, right? Thank God for that half a point, right?
Jeez, man.
What a crazy, crazy day. All right, guys. Like I said,
726 yards and 10 touchdowns in that game for Miami's offense. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. Yeah. They kept going and going, and I was like, what? They put the backups in. The backups were scoring. I'm like, what the hell is happening?
So real quick, I know we want to talk about other stuff, but they said that Mike McDaniel showed he did the professional thing and didn't go for the record. He took a knee instead of kicking the field goal. Not for nothing. Like that's like temporarily immortality. Like that's one of one. I would have done it. I don't give it. I don't care. Would you guys have done it in that situation?
At that point, what's being humble? You already put up 70. You're already throwing deep up 40. You know, like just
yeah.
Points.
That's the biggest thing. I think, you know, they threw that deep ball. You know, I think it was 9 minutes to go in the fourth quarter when they were already up. That whole, I don't know, that type of humbleness I don't buy. They should have just gone for the record. It would have been something that, you know, you could have hung your hat on, and it would have been something that, if anything else, you know, it would have been something that people talked about. But then again, maybe that's why he didn't do it. Maybe that they didn't want that to be the focal point of their season, because the Dolphins look like a team with actual Super Bowl aspirations. So you don't want a record to become the high watermark of your season, if you know what I mean. Have it become distracting. The players always get asked about it, blah, 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 blah. So who knows what it is? All I know is that Russell Wilson and Sean Payton should have been involuntarily retired after a game like this. I mean, that was pathetic. I saw something where after today, the Broncos have 69 points in all 3 of their games, and Miami outpaced that in one game today. Absolutely wild.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not Sean Payton, surely almost any other coach would have been on the hot seat. I mean, maybe he is on the hot seat, but whatever. Let's get into this 49ers game, because the chat's already going off about Purdy. Did he play well? Did he not play well? It seems like 49ers fan base on Twitter, or X, I still call it Twitter, X, is like divided straight down the middle, whether or not he played well. I think he finished 310 yards, 2 TDs, didn't turn the ball over. And for some reason, there's this narrative out there that he didn't do enough, or this was one of his poorer games. Mike, I'm going to toss it to you. What were your thoughts on Brock Purdy's night?
Yeah, so I think that people are looking for perfect ball placement, and that's what they're judging him off of. Now, I will say that I watched the game on the next gen Amazon thing. So it was kind of like all 22 the whole game. So you could see some of the receivers that he got too late. You could tell which ones he took the shorter pass when there was someone deeper and all that stuff. But that's like overly analytical, right? I wasn't the biggest. I wasn't like, oh man, he's great. We're good. We're excellent. We're excellent. I thought it was a rough game for the offense. But then when I watch the rest of the league, and this is what we have to do as Niner fans, right? We have to look at when people in the national media or when they're ranking the play of our quarterback, look around the league and look at other people. And let me tell you something. After watching the Jets, after watching this game that's on right now, after watching a lot of other games this weekend, we should really, really be appreciative of what we have in Brock Purdy. And for all intents and purposes, this was a career high, by the way. He finally threw for over 305 yards or 301 yards. It was like 310, I think he finished with a career high for him. So like we got to remember this is what 10 starts, something like that. And this is or maybe just 10 games. I don't even know if one of them counts as a start because the Miami game, right? But whatever. It's 10 games. He's not at his ceiling. And if this is where our floor is, we're in really, really good hands. Like these were a legit 30 points by the offense. This wasn't a defense pick six. This wasn't a special teams return or anything like that. We sincerely have an offense that is putting up 30 points a game right now. And everybody on the offense, including head coach Kyle Shanahan, will tell you we left a lot out there on the field. I mean, I don't know what else you want. I don't know what else you want. Like we haven't hit our midseason stride yet, and the Niners always start slow. This is part of the slow start, guys. So I think we should be a lot easier, more appreciative of what we have in Brock Purdy than what we have been.
Yeah, agreed, 100%. And I think one thing we need to keep in mind is these Thursday night games are such a crapshoot. Like I was hearing Kyle Shanahan describe what it's like processing the week when you play on Thursday night after just playing on Sunday. And he's like, we're going to go into a meeting on Tuesday. By the time we're out of the meeting, it's Wednesday in our mind, like calendar wise. After, we have a practice. After that practice, it's Thursday. And then after that practice, it's basically Friday. And that's the end of our week. Like we have to condense 3 days into one day because I believe Monday they have off. So it's basically Tuesday, Wednesday. They have to fit an entire week's worth of practice. So we saw last week, everybody was saying, I think it was last week, Philly and Minnesota. And everyone's like, Philly looks kind of weird. And even I was saying it myself. And I'm like, well, it's a Thursday night game. Like I would take it with a grain of salt how these teams look on a short week. All that matters is you get the dub. You find a way to win these ugly games. And they did exactly that. And like, you're exactly right. Even with the 10 yards taken away for sacks, which I still think is kind of weird. They take out of passing yards. He still finished with 300 passing yards on the day, 25 of 37, 310 yards, 2 touchdowns, rating of 111.3. And most importantly, no interceptions. Matt, no interceptions on the season. Does that surprise you so far from Brock?
No, he was careful with the ball last year. In his starts, I think he finished with 3 interceptions. So that's not a surprise. He did have some plays early, particularly on that first drive where I thought he was a little rough. And I think that a lot of that was due to, again, what you talked about, Zach, that just short preparation time, right? You're coming in, you're playing a team on really 2 days, day and a half worth of practice. Wednesday was probably more of a walkthrough than a full on day of practice. So maybe Tuesday you guys got out there and tried to put in some sort of install. And then you get into the game and lo and behold, the Giants are blitzing more than any team has blitzed in the next gen stats era. According to the NFL next gen stats, they blitzed 33 of 39 dropbacks for Brock Purdy. And I think that showed in the early going where you're on those scheduled. This is the plays that we're doing right off the bat, right? That there were a couple of throws. The one to Kittle, especially, I thought there was some room there that, he could have done a better job of maybe having Kittle sit in the zone rather than lead him into the coverage, but Kittle did a good job breaking it up. There was the dangerous throw to Debo, towards the end zone that was, again, very close. But at the same time, the players just with the plays given, he's trying to do what he can. And I thought that it wasn't particularly terrible ball placement from the standpoint of he was throwing the ball where he wanted the ball to go. So that part of it I was okay with. It was the fact that They were blitzing. They had all these plays out, and you saw it from the second drive on. Everybody's complaining, oh, Brock Purdy, he just has yak. He was throwing short, blah, 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 blah. Well, when the defense blitzes you on 85% of your dropbacks, you are going to throw the ball short, and you're going to count on yak because there's zero blitzing all the time. You're hot. You got to get it out to the receiver as fast as you can and let them do their work in space. That's exactly what happened. They adjusted, and as the game went on, he settled down, and he ended up with 2 and what should have been 3 beautiful throws that were for touchdowns. The throw to Ronnie Bell was absolutely outstanding. I mean, I thought that was perfect placement on that ball. The back shoulder fade to Deebo Samuel, I thought that was good ball placement. I mean, you're putting it in a position where Deebo's going to be able to make the play. We've seen how rather than lead the receiver towards the back pylon like a lot of people do, that back shoulder throw seems to be something that's growing in popularity in the NFL because you allow your receiver to make the play on the ball rather than, a DB who can go up blind. I saw it in a game, I believe it was the Cowboys game earlier where the Cardinals defender, the Dak Prescott threw to the back of the end zone. The Cardinals defender just back to the ball, put his hands up. They threw a flag for pass interference, but ended up pulling it because, he didn't really interfere with the throw. But a back shoulder in that situation, does that either draw a flag or allow a receiver to make a play? That's something to, think about. And I thought the throw to Christian McCaffrey was an absolute dime that McCaffrey just ended up dropping. But, it wasn't a perfect game, and he started out rough. But I think a lot of people overreacted on Twitter, X, or whatever, and started talking about how, oh, this is the Purdy game where he's going to fall off and this and this and that, forgetting that football is a 60-minute game. And when all is said and done, and Brock Purdy throws for, I think it's 67% completion percentage against 85% blitz rate with a season high 2.34 time to throw in terms of speed of getting the ball out, I thought he did a great job adjusting. The coaches did a great job adjusting, and the Giants really had nothing for him. And the Giants pinned their ears back and did what they could because they knew with all those weapons, they had to go after what they perceived to be the weak link, which was the offensive line and potentially Brock Purdy. And it didn't work. Another 30-point effort for the 49ers. I thought overall, good game.
Yeah. And I was a little shocked. I'll throw it to you right now, Mike, just real quick. I was a little shocked because we saw Brock Purdy and his comfortability facing blitzes immediately when he came in for Jimmy against Miami. And then, Tampa did a little bit before they got down really, really badly, but he was very comfortable against Miami and they were throwing the book at him. So for Wink Martindale, I know he's historically a very blitz heavy DC. I still did not think that was a good approach. And once it wasn't working, I was really shocked that he stuck with it. Mike, what were your thoughts here?
Wrong one. Sorry. I wanted to just say Matt said something that was very, very important. The scripted plays are just that, the scripted plays. But once they got away from that and then they were counting on heavy blitzes, it was night and day difference. So that's why the first 2 drives end up looking as rough as they did. And then once you get away from that, all right, trust the plays that are called. There are blitz beaters in there. And that's why, like Matt said, the yak is what it's going to be. Yeah, there's no time to stand there and throw the ball 30 yards down the field, So I thought it was a really, really good showing for Brock Purdy overall.
Agreed. And can we talk about just the offense as a whole stepping up? When Brandon Ayuk wasn't in, he ended up missing this game with the chest, shoulder injury, whatever the hell they're calling it, neck injury. I thought he was going to go, but I think it's smart that he didn't since the 49ers, it's a shorter week, like we said, get him the rest. They were able to take care of business very comfortably. Ronnie Bell steps up, has a beautiful touchdown. One thing I want to ask you, gentlemen, how nice is it to see a quarterback that can consistently and accurately throw to the outside of the numbers on the field in the end zone, both to the left and the right? And I'm not worried. Like when that pass went out to Ronnie Bell, that was a dime. When he hit Deebo deep, that was a dime. Like, Mike, I'm going to throw it back to you. How nice is it to finally have this as a fellow 49ers fan?
Yeah, we talked about all the time before where, when Jimmy dropped back and held the ball and it was something down the field, you like kind of hold your breath. It's like, oh boy, what's it going to be? What's it going to be? And I don't get that feeling from Brock Purdy at all. It's a huge sigh of relief. That's the best way that I can do it. It's a huge, it takes a lot of the stress off of watching the games where you can really just sit back and enjoy them and know, like, at least we know he's going to put the ball where he's supposed to put it. And we saw even, people run the wrong routes and he throws it to a spot and they didn't get there. I think I saw that twice in that game. But, things happen for a reason, and we have him here, and he's doing it, man. He's all over the field. I did see the passing chart, and it's nothing like what we were dealing with the previous 3 seasons. So I like it.
Yeah, agreed. It's impressive. It is impressive. Matt, I'm gonna toss it back to you. We finally saw Bosa get his sack, first sack of the year. He came in. What were your thoughts on his performance? Some people were still saying, is he really worth, like he held out and he's still not looking that great and yada, yada, yada. What's your thoughts? I mean, obviously it's going to be a slower start. He missed some of camp, but what do you think?
Yeah, but he was pressuring the quarterback all night that night. He did get his sack. I can't believe that they had the gall to try to block him with a backup tight end. That poor tight end, I mean, that was one of those in high school, we call it a lookout block, where you just turn around and tell your quarterback, look out, because there was nothing there. The same people that are complaining that Nick Bosa, doesn't look whatever, are the same people that will complain about anything under the sun. Some people you just can't please, but Nick Bosa looked like a beast out there. He was in on plays. You just watch him. I mean, if you went to the all-22 on every snap that he played and just watch him work against the guy that he's going against, it's there. He's winning. The fact of the matter is, a lot of these teams know that the 49ers have a fantastic defensive line, and if there's any spot on the defense that is a little more suspect, it's the fact that they tend to play off-ball coverage and you can get quick shit out against the team. So that's where they're kind of living, right? It's the same thing. You can't watch and say Nick Bosa's not doing his job, and at the same time, be happy about Brock Purdy, throwing short against the blitz. Like, those two things actually match up with each other, right? What's good for one is good for the other. And if Nick Bosa and Javon Hargrave and all those guys are getting in there, you got to get the ball out quick. And I think that that's what Daniel Jones tried to do. And we saw a little bit more pressure from everybody else as the game got a little bit more out of hand and they had to try to go deeper and deeper into the secondary. That a lot of times the pressure was there. Now, just because Nick Bosa doesn't get a sack doesn't mean that he's not doing his job. I think sacks are a great stat, fantastic, whatever. But you watch his reps and he wins every rep. So it's the numbers will come. I just think that people are being impatient, and it's funny how before the whole holdout thing or whatever, everybody to a man was like, pay Nick Bosa. As it gets to the point where he's holding out, you start to see that shift and blame Nick Bosa, right? Nick Bosa not getting sacks. Wow, we shouldn't have paid him that much. Nick Bosa can come out and have a game like Myles Garrett did today, where he had, I think he had 4.5 sacks today and 2 forced fumbles. And then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, see, told you we should have paid him earlier. So that it's nothing but fickle fan base and people being too in their own feelings to enjoy the fact that the 49ers are 3-0 and looking pretty dominant in all of those games, minus the Rams game, which, again, as we know, division games are always squirrely. So it is what it is. Hard to be pressed about it.
Yeah. You got a comment here for 49ers throwback. Are you surprised Javon Kinlaw's playing better?
No, because I think the surrounding talent around – one, I think he's healthy. And two, I think the surrounding talent is with Hargrave and Armstead, I should say, and then Bosa, and then Drake Jackson, who looks like he's taken a little bit of a step up. A rising tide raises all boats, you know what I mean? So you're playing next to all these guys, you're going to get better looks, and you're going to go against more single coverage, single blocks, or whatever. We saw him get pushed back on those double team blocks, but he's not going to see a lot of those this year. And again, you hope that a player grows over the course of time. I think the fact that he's been healthy with those knees and able to get out there also contributes. The best we talked about it with Jimmy G and his off seasons, and Trey Lance with his injuries and stuff like that. It's hard to get better if you're focusing on rehab and not honing your craft. And I think that Javon Kinlaw with a full offseason is showing that he has the capacity to improve. He might be playing himself into a second contract with the 49ers. It might not be, everything that he wants or whatever, but he's definitely playing better than he has before, for sure.
It's nice to see. I really am nice. And Kyle even said that. Kyle Shanahan said that, because I think they asked him, like, are you surprised to see this version of him? He said no, because he's finally healthy. He hasn't really been healthy throughout his entire tenure with the 49ers. Whether that's true or not, take it with a grain of salt. But he's, according to Kyle, finally healthy, and this is the effort we're seeing from him. I think a lot of it really does come down to effort with Javon Kinlaw, and he's extremely motivated. And like Matt said, he's got the pieces. I'm sorry, I know we moved off of Purdy, but I had this up I wanted to talk to you guys about. But before I do, let me preface it with this. every quarterback when they get drafted, and we saw this when Kyle Shanahan and the Niners traded up to 3 before they drafted Trey Lance, everybody was saying this is the perfect spot for a quarterback like a Justin Fields to land in because, oh my God, it's the coach, it's the surrounded parts, everything is going to be a perfect environment for a quarterback. So why does that then turn around and get used against the quarterback if they do succeed in that environment? Like, I don't get why that's used against a quarterback if you're just saying this is the perfect environment for that quarterback.
All you got to do is look at Jimmy Garoppolo tonight, who has 2 picks, looks terrible.
Exactly.
Right. Not elevating the Raiders. And that's why everybody looks at 49ers quarterbacks with skepticism, because they do well in this offense and then don't do as well once Kyle Shanahan either leaves the team or the quarterback goes elsewhere. And I think it's an easy crutch, but the way that Kyle calls plays for Brock Purdy shows to me that there is a higher level of trust than he would normally have otherwise.
Yep.
Right. It's not Jimmy G back in the pocket, petting the ball and then pointing down the field and then throwing short for an interception or whatever the case may be. Right. It's not, a ton of inaccurate passes at all times or putting the ball in harm's way. I think that there's a level of gamesmanship, a level of understanding of the offense. What I think that Brock Purdy does really, really well is process the entire field. I think he sees things very well. There were a couple of plays where they didn't complete the pass, but it looked like Brock Purdy recognized that if he threw the ball that way and got the ref's eyes down there, that they would call a flag on certain things, holding and stuff like that. And I think that he does a good job of really putting the ball in places where it's not just, an up for grabs thing. It's not just a close your eyes and, chuck and duck type of thing. It's, I'm going to put the ball and it might be in a little bit of danger, but at least I know that my dude can make a play on the ball, whether that's to catch the ball or to keep it out of the defender's hands. He does a lot of good there. So I think there is a difference, but because of the way that Kyle Shanahan quarterbacks look after they leave his system, I think that there's a little bit of an issue there in terms of perception of whoever's in this building right now.
Yeah. And I don't disagree with that. And I'm not saying Brock Purdy is going to be an MVP, but look at this stat here. Let me switch the view so we can all see it. Patrick Mahomes in the 2018 MVP season, Lamar Jackson in the 2019 MVP season, and Brock Purdy. These are the 3 quarterbacks, and he's the 3rd youngest player to throw for 700 yards, 4 passing touchdowns, and 0 interceptions through the first 3 games in the season. Or I guess just through 3 games in the season, not the first 3. So he's joining some elite company here. And obviously, I'm not saying he's as good as these 2 players or he's going to be an MVP this year, because I highly doubt that, because he won't get the credit for playing well. But it's just really cool to see from a fan who's been a fan of this team, who's struggled from the quarterback position and largely has won in spite of the quarterback. It's nice to see kind of things start to shift the other way. And I agree with you, Matt. I think the way Kyle calls these plays, it shows he has a lot of trust in in Brock Purdy. And he's allowing him to sling the ball. I mean, he threw 37 times Thursday night? That's a lot. That's a lot, especially for a team they were up a majority of the game. So, Mike, do you have any thoughts on this?
Not really. It's just like I said, it's just good to see. And it's a calming factor, like it's terrible for them to put those stats up there and then put his name there. And we know he's not going to get any of the credit for being, he won't get any of the consideration for MVP. They're going to say, oh, well, the team was so stacked, he probably should have had more. It doesn't matter what he finishes the season with. It's just not going to be good enough to the national eye, to the voters and all that. So it is what it is. You got to go out there, put your head down and just keep making plays, man. That's all he can do. It sucks, but that's where it is.
Yeah. Just like Kyle not winning Coach of the Year. Go ahead, Matt.
Right.
Yeah. This comment from all day, every day, Kim, the Giants were injured heavily, beating them. It's not a flex whatsoever. The Dolphins can flex. Listen, the Dolphins can flex. That's fantastic. But the 49ers weren't exactly 100% healthy for this game either. No Brandon Ayuk, no Ambry Thomas, no Samuel Womack. Like there were things out there. I think Talanoa Hufanga had to miss some plays because he got, you beat who's in front of you, right? And going into that game, the spread was what, 10? Mm-hmm. They covered. I mean, it's an 18-point win. It's a 3-score game. Either way you look at it, you can flex. That's a win on short week, whatever. So I don't know who you're a fan of. I know it's not the 49ers, but I don't know, man. I think that's a weird thing to just come in and say off rip.
I mean, it looks like maybe Seahawks because of the colors of the Abby there, maybe. I'm not sure, but you also like. All right, cool. We can talk about how good Miami did and how impressive it was. I mean, we kind of started with that, right? But one, it was the Broncos, right? Like when does that factor into it, right? But you don't want to take that away from them. You want to big them up for it. And Miami, we've seen them be hot until they run into a good team like the Niners, and then all of a sudden, where's all that heat? You know, like where's all that speed? It means nothing when you're playing up against a team with a good defense. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Not only that, but good teams win the games they're supposed to win. Like Matt said, they were favored by 10, won by 18. And look, winning in the NFL is a hard thing to do. I think any team should celebrate any win they get because it's a very hard. These guys get paid millions of dollars per year. There's like 60 of them on each squad, like it's very difficult to win a game in the NFL. So I think anytime you win a game, you should celebrate it, especially when you win big on a short week. And it's not an either or type thing. You can celebrate the Niners winning and congratulate the Dolphins for winning too. It's not like you have to pick one or the other. And I think all of us here are rooting for Mike McDaniel and the Dolphins since he was a former coach here.
Yeah, I just think it's a weird thing to compare NFL games as if they are an exact one-to-one comparable item. It's completely not that way. And it's just, I don't know, it's kind of weak to just talk shit or whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah. All right, let's get back to this game.
He says he's a 49ers fan. He says, I'm a 49ers fan, but I know it ain't no flex. I mean, every game, NFL is any given Sunday for a reason.
Yeah.
You win, you win. You win by 18 points, that is a flex, dude. I'm sorry, but that's, I don't know what you're talking about, brother.
Especially, I mean, we saw it today. The Cowboys were favored by 12.5 points and went out to Arizona and got their ass handed to them. I mean, they got whooped in all phases of the game. And I don't know, was it you in here saying too that Purdy isn't playing better than Joshua Dobbs, which, okay, sure, if that's what you want to say. I'll give Joshua Dobbs credit. He's playing better than I thought he would play. Granted, especially that he got acquired by the Cardinals a month before the season started. But does that not go against your whole reasoning here? Like it's any given Sunday.
Yeah, this is troll
shit.
Them. That's troll shit, dude. That's back under your bridge.
Were you guys surprised by the Cowboys getting whooped? Matt, I know you said in the chat earlier they are who they've been.
I mean, it's been the same Cowboys team for years, right? Like they underperform against certain teams, then everybody thinks that they're great. Then they underperform. They're going to go up against a physical team and get busted on, and it is what it is with them. They're very inconsistent team, and I haven't seen Dak Prescott play well this year. He just doesn't. Even in that 40-0 game, he had like 130 passing yards. It was not a good performance, and I don't know. Somebody posted on Twitter something that I won't say here, but I thought it was really funny about Dak Prescott, and I think it fits. I think he's closer to Jimmy G than people want to give him credit for, and that's not a good comparison. I think that Dak's a little bit overrated. It's the same as Cowboys. I don't know. That week 5 matchup, while I'm excited for it, I don't know that it's going to have the juice that it did before, just because if you're getting whooped up by the Cardinals. Now, that puts pressure on the 49ers, right? You can't come out next week and lay an egg against the Cardinals. You got to go out and take care of business. But just, I don't know, man. I don't know what to make of the Cowboys. They're a really, really odd team.
Yeah. It is strange. And I agree with you. On offense, I think they're the exact same offense that they were last year, maybe even a little worse since they lost Amari Cooper. But on defense, they just lost Trayvon Diggs. Mike, you got thoughts here?
I do. I personally wasn't surprised. I tweeted something on like the opening drive of the game. This was before they scored. I had no idea what the outcome was going to be. But basically it was saying, the Cardinals are going to beat the Cowboys for 3.5 quarters just to let y'all know that they can if they wanted to. And when the fact that they held on to the win was pretty cool. It did get close at one point. I think it was like a 1-score game, and then the Cardinals just turned around and went out there and won it. I still think that they're evaluating that entire roster. They want to know what quarterbacks they want to keep, which quarterbacks they don't want to keep, and the skill positions and everything. I think they're doing a full evaluation. I think this team is actually trying in the first half. And in the second half, they kind of want to take their foot off the gas and just, hey, if we win, cool. If we don't, it's just better draft position for us, and we can start building this team. You guys have to remember that this is a new regime in there, and they aren't tied to any of these players. And then when you watch the coaches, they did the Gatorade bath for him on his first win as a Cardinal, and the players are in front of him like trying to dap him. He's literally pushing them away. I don't think the coach was happy with this win. I think the players' will to win this game meant more to them than it did to him. I think that he wanted to go out there. Let's show them, we got a little something here, but all right, let's go easy in the second half. The play calling got really what's the word? Like they stepped back on the aggressiveness of the play calling. Yeah. And then, but the players were still executing. The Cowboys tackling just wasn't there. So I wasn't surprised that they looked as bad as they did early. I just thought that the Cardinals would just give them the win down the stretch is what I fully expected to happen. But they didn't.
Yeah. Likewise, because that's kind of what's been happening all season. But hey, credit to them. They beat Dallas. Yeah, this comment here is cracking me up. Cowboys were saying, we beat the Giants 40-0, and you guys struggled since Thursday. And then they come out here and get their asses handed to them by a, arguably one of the worst teams in the league in the Cardinals, or at least expected to be one of the worst teams in the league. They've played every opponent tough. I'll give them credit. It's just hilarious and really is any given Sunday in the NFL. Sorry, I'm just seeing the tweet.
I didn't want to put that up on the show. That's a little not
That's
friendly.
Funny. All right.
Did you see it, Mike?
I just now saw it. Holy shit. Look, man, I mean, it is what it is. The Niners are, oh my God, this guy like just stands there in open field and takes sacks to the face. Like it palls. But Jimmy I'm so glad he's not here anymore. I'm so glad he's not here. I'm sorry.
He stinks. All the Jimmy stands are all the wind is out of their sails at this point, man.
I did want to say one thing about Kinlaw before we get too far away from it. You guys are saying he's finally healthy. If you buy that, it's not just healthy. It was a healthy offseason where he was able to be taught about his leverage and pad position. So he was healthy for week 1 last year, but he was still not like in camp and everything he was doing was on the side. This is his first offseason where Kocurek actually was able to get his hands on him and teach him and coach him up since he's been in the NFL. So I thought that was phenomenal. I expected to see him improve. I think that even being a rotational guy is benefiting him right now too. So I just want to say that about Kinlaw. Expect this level of play to continue without any injuries to him.
Yeah, also I saw he trained this offseason with Javon Hargrave. So a pro's pro, taking Kinlaw under his wing. So I'm just excited for him. Even if his future does not have the 49ers in it, I'm still wishing the best for him because he isn't a very, very talented player. The cards haven't really been there for him, unfortunately. And also, it's just funny to see players chew out people like he did to Grant Cohn. It's entertaining, I should say the least. All right. Matt, going back to the game on Thursday night, some people were stressed because it was, closer than expected for the first half or however long it was even close for. Did anything about that game surprise you until the 49ers kind of pulled away in the end?
Yeah, I mean, it looked like Christian McCaffrey was able to get some stuff going early on. And yet the 49ers still seem to be running the football a lot. Passing the football a lot. And I thought that they would maybe try to run a little bit more as like blitz breakers, but they trusted Purdy to get it done, even though the first drive and a half looked a little rough. The second drive was the 3 and out on the goal line or whatever. They didn't really do anything there, but they were able to stick with it and give Purdy the opportunity. And I think that that's something that, while the rest of the fan base or like people that aren't in the know go, oh, see, Kyle doesn't trust Brock Purdy because now he's doing all this dink and dunk and screen passing and all this stuff. To me, it showed me the exact opposite, that he continued to let Brock Purdy to throw the football rather than try to run it when Christian McCaffrey and even To an extent, I mean, at the end of the day, Elijah Mitchell rushed for 3.8 yards. He had one big run that looked like he was going to start turning it on as well. But, when you got those guys going, instead of continuing to feed it to them, he decided that he was going to, ride with Brock Purdy, let Brock Purdy overcome a little bit of struggles. I think that was almost like a bit of a test from Kyle Shanahan. Like, hey, this is what the game's going to look like. What are you going to do with it? And to the surprise of nobody, with Brandon Ayuk not there, the two biggest guys catching the ball on the team were George Kittle and Deebo Samuel. Brock Purdy got the ball to his playmakers in space. They were able to do some stuff. I mean, overall, like I said, not a total surprise, but just a little bit of a surprise that he was allowed to throw the ball 37 times in that game.
Yeah. And, talking about wide receivers or pass catchers that stepped up, an underrated play, probably one of the top 3 plays of the day, was when Deebo tipped that ball up high in the air and Ronnie Bell came down with it, didn't hesitate at all. Like, he grabbed that shit like it was a pass intended for him and was looking to make moves afterwards. Like, I absolutely love this kid, Ronnie Bell, man. He is quickly climbing the ladder as a guy that I think should be in the talk for wide receiver 3 on this team, man. He's really coming along nicely. And again, he's just a rookie, man. Like, imagine with more time and experience in this system, he's going to be a valuable asset for this team for the next couple of seasons for sure.
And there was one point, it was a running play. I can't remember who was running the ball, but he had a sweet pancake block where the ref essentially had to pull him off of the defender because he yeeted the defender to the ground and held his ass down. And he just, again, the one thing that I can say about Ronnie Bell, he had his struggles with, the ball security in preseason. But as a Michigan fan, I've watched Ronnie Bell for years. The one thing that you can never say about this kid is that he doesn't work hard, because this dude is like the old mantra that we had here that Robert Saleh carried over to the Jets, all gas, no brake. That is Ronnie Bell. He's all gas, no brake. He's out there, and it's encouraging to see a 7th rounder another 7th rounder on this team be able to step up and make some plays. You're muted, my man.
I'm muted. Yeah, thank you. Pretty start of the game, rough going 3 for 8 on the first drive. The rest of the game, he went 22 for 29. Yeah, the kid knows how to play quarterback. This is what we've said and has been said about Purdy since, he stepped in against Miami last year. He's just fucking calm. Like, he's just resolved in the face of pressure. There's nothing that's going to rattle him so far. He doesn't seem to get too high, doesn't seem to get too low. Like, he's just always even. And it's so impressive from such a young player. Even when, one of the most experienced defensive coordinators in the NFL, Wink Martindale, is throwing the book of blitzes at you play after play after play. He's like, okay, then I'll just dice you up underneath. I'll just hit these passes underneath. And I know a lot of people are using that play on the opening drive that he was almost intercepted. Kittle went and broke up and did the whole, seatbelt celebration. In my opinion, after rewatching it, it looks like Kittle just stopped running. Like, that would have been where Kittle would have been if he continued his route. But for some reason, I don't know if he felt like he found a little area in the zone where he could sit in.
He did.
Yeah.
And JTL Sullivan went over that, but I also agree. I saw that he kind of hitched and stopped. I think it was just a little miscommunication. But yeah,
right.
I saw exactly what you're talking about. Keep going, Zach.
Yeah, I'm just, it's very impressive. And every time I think there's nothing more this kid can do to impress me, he continues to do it. And I think, again, and not to beat a dead horse, but on a short week, on a very, very short week, minimized schedule here to get into this Giants game, he has a career high in passing yards, has a couple of dots. I mean, if McCaffrey, that pass doesn't get broken up, that's one of the best throws he's made this year. And him being able to hit that front of the end zone corner, back shoulder throw that he hit against Pittsburgh, in Pittsburgh, to Brandon Ayuk, and now hit it Thursday night to Deebo Samuel. It's just so impressive that the 49ers have that in their repertoire when they have such a already diverse offense and multiple ways of attacking you. Now they have that as well. It's scary good. And the fact that they're not even at 100% yet is even more, I don't know, exciting, I guess.
Right. The one thing I want to address too, that play to Kittle, that definitely was a near interception. Mm-hmm. But I really get sick and tired of people who will just count a standard pass breakup as a dropped interception. I'm like, no one was catching that ball if the wide receiver didn't catch that ball. Just because it was when Patrick Peterson undercut that route, but he never went to intercept the ball. He went to break the ball up the entire time. He had his right arm around Kittle, went around the front and batted it with his hand to the back like that. He's not picking off that ball, right? You can call that a pass breakup, but that's not like a dropped interception. And I think that more so, not in the national media or even, just the media in general, but amongst our fan base, the ones that seem to not like Brock Purdy, they'll consider those dropped interceptions as a way of like trying to cut him down. And it's like at the end of the day, every quarterback in the NFL has passes that are broken up, has passes that they potentially could be picked that don't get picked. That's the nature of football. I mean, this is not college. This is not guys running 75 yards open, right, with nobody around them. They're just in a sea of whatever, and the receiver can sit there all day. This is a game of millimeters in the NFL, where a fingertips difference is, perfect example was the third down throw that Brock Purdy was drifting to his left in the pocket and feathered over the linebacker to get to George Kittle. Again, an inch lower, and that's a pass breakup. But he threw that perfectly, and it got there. So, like, that's what I'm talking about. And I think it's time that people, you don't have to crown Brock Purdy. I don't think any of us are crowning him as, like, the best quarterback in the NFL. But at the same time, this, like, teardown of him, that because you're either mad about Trey Lance or, you're mad about whatever you're going to be mad about, we can't enjoy nice things because you're just tearing dude down to support your narrative because you're too proud to say, oh, maybe I wasn't right about this kid. Doesn't mean you were all the way wrong, but at the same time, just enjoy the wins for what they are and enjoy the fact that we have a quarterback that has the confidence to put the ball where he needs to put it. And he hasn't thrown any interceptions this year.
Yeah.
Like he's doing his job. It's never going to be perfect, but as long as it's not bad, not average. I would say he's playing at the very least above average quarterback play. Enjoy it. We haven't had that here in a long time.
Yeah, I think I remember going into that Thursday night game against Tennessee, not last year, but the year before. There was like a stretch of games that Jimmy Garoppolo, he was like coming up on his career high of games not throwing an interception. And I think it was like 3. Like, I think 3, he had never gone 3 games without throwing an interception. And sure enough, he threw an interception that night. So
2 of them.
I want to address this comment real quick. David Yang, Brandon Ayuk's injury shown up a lot in the red zone. Didn't seem like our red zone was as efficient without him. I agree with this 100%. We saw 2 or 3 drives stall in the red zone. And I think Purdy definitely missed Ayuk there. I don't know if the other receivers weren't able to get open or what the case is, or he didn't trust them as much, but that was apparent to me. And hopefully Ayuk's back next week. Mike, do you have something to add?
Yeah, what happens is when you get to the confined areas of the field, right? Like precise route running becomes more important than probably anything else if it's not going to be a jump ball. So Brandon Ayuk has the long arms, so he plays taller than what his actual height is, and he's got that really, really crisp route running where you can shake somebody out their boots in a 3-yard space, so that is something that's going to be missed. It, and again, guys, this game wasn't perfect. The red zone was definitely one of the areas. The penalties, I still have a problem with the Niners getting 6+ penalties every single game. That's something that we have to stop. A lot of them are avoidable. They're getting really emotional out there. Or, when you're beating teams the way that the Niners have been doing, the opposing teams are going to push a little bit more after plays and after whistles and all that. And we've got to learn to just, let it go. We got to channel some of that, that Jawan Jennings and just let them draw the penalties and we benefit from it, not the other way around. So I think those things will get cleaned up, though, as the season goes on. So.
Agreed. We got a super chat from our guy Sean here. Hey guys, Purdy ran some of those plays with highlight reel precision, the way Shanny would draw it up. Best since Garcia. Be blessed. Yeah, that's some high praise for Brock Purdy, who is in, I think this is like his 11th start, maybe 12th.
I think it was his 10th, but
10th. Okay.
I would say that he's on pace to be the best since Garcia. I do want to see it for a longer period of time.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he's playing really well. I'm enjoying the ride. I'm waiting for him to do it a little longer, and then, we can start having that discussion. But he's doing really good right now.
Matt, why don't you answer this one? What's your thoughts on Purdy's back shoulder throw to Debo? There's actually people out there saying it was underthrown and Debo just made a play.
You're talking about a throw that was, based on, the distance, divided by the sine of the angle of the throw, which is about 45 degrees from far hash to pylon. You're talking about a throw that's 52 yards in the air, right? From where he throws in the far hash to the 37-yard line to the pylon, when you account for the angle, 52 yards in the air, and it's in a bucket. Like, it's back shoulder. Back shoulder is a much more common fade route that they run today, and I don't think you can throw that any better. What do you want him to do? You know, there's the potential that he throws it 6 yards out of the end zone. Like, would that have been more acceptable to you? I don't understand. And this is the nitpicking that I get into with people that will say, oh yeah, well, but, and just try to denigrate him no matter what. That was a great throw. That was a great throw. That's about as good a throw as you're going to see at that point, from a lot of quarterbacks. And instead of enjoying the fact that it was a touchdown, people would be like, well, it was underthrown and Debo had to go make a play. The whole point is to put on a fade route, to put the ball where your guy can go and make a play on it. It was no secret what Debo Samuel was doing, right? For as much as people, like, unless you have blistering speed and you're beating a dude off press man coverage, it's not like a 9 route is that hard to defend. You just got to run with the dude, and when you see his hands go up, try to go up and get the ball. And that's the reason for the back shoulder. And I just think that it's too easy to sit there and the nitpicking stuff that people do that make being, part of this fandom really frustrating sometimes, because people can't just enjoy the nice things. They got to just nitpick it to death, and it gets tiresome. Great. That was a great throw. I'm just going to say that was a great throw.
Yeah. Mike.
Yeah, no safety over there to cover. And you could tell, again, I got the benefit of watching, the next gen view of it. The DB was constantly on the inside. You throw the ball outside. If the DB was on the outside, he would have thrown it inside, and it would have been a much bigger window for him to make the throw. It was just a matter of knowing where he was going with the ball, and he did exactly what he was supposed to do. There's no reason to complain about that at all. At all.
Agreed. This is from the playbook on X. Brock Purdy's 27-yard touchdown pass to Debo Samuel was the longest completion by air yards in his career so far, 44.6. The completion probability on this play was 27.4, making it the 4th lowest completion of Purdy's career, a laser. So it's an impressive throw. I don't get how he could have thrown this in a better location, and it's certainly not a throwaway that Debo Samuel just plucked out of the air and bailed Brock Purdy out on. I think that's a bit ridiculous to say. On the quarterback school from JT O'Sullivan, he showed the touchdown pass to Ronnie Bell. That ball is out before Bell is even out of his break. He has a free rusher, Brock Purdy does, right in his face, and he throws with so much anticipation. I think that's what's very, very encouraging and appealing about Brock Purdy and the way he plays the game, is he knows where his receiver is going to be, and he just trusts them to be there, and he'll put the ball there, and as long as they're there, good things happen.
And by the way, there was plenty on that ball. So does Brock Purdy have the strongest arm in the NFL? No, but it's strong enough, because that was a rope.
Jamarcus Russell had a strong arm. Where did that get him? Go
ahead, I was going crazy over that throw. I remember watching it live, and I'm like, look at that. He threw it before he even broke on his route. Like, look at that. Like, he's throwing it to a spot. Like, that's what we've been wanting here for so long. I remember the first time we saw it in the Shanahan era, right? And it was Emmanuel Sanders' his first game here. And you remember seeing Jimmy just throw the ball, and I'm like, that's what it looks like when they throw the ball with anticipation. And then it kind of just went away, right? We got to stop. We got to stop. This kid is young. This kid is inexperienced, and he's only getting better. We should, like Matt said a couple of times, we should be enjoying the ride.
Yeah. It's been a fun ride so far. I think I saw I forget which pregame show, they were saying teams that start 3-0, 75% of them go on to make the playoffs. Granted, I don't know if these stats have been updated since they switched to a 17-game schedule, not a 16-game schedule. I don't know if it really matters. I think we all expect the 49ers to be in the playoffs. They already have one division win under the belt, and they're looking to get their second next week against Arizona, which, by the way, it was my girl Ash's birthday. Technically, her birthday is Wednesday, but we celebrated Saturday, and her dad and stepmom got her 2 tickets to the Cardinals game. So we'll be going to the 49ers Cardinals on Sunday. Hopefully we see Brock Purdy and company whip some ass and watch 49ers improve to 4-0. That'll be fun.
I think the best thing that could have happened for the Niners going into that game was watching the Cardinals beat the Cowboys. If that was a
Yep.
one-sided victory for the Cowboys, I think the Niners could have overlooked a whole lot. And I think the Cardinals right now are priding themselves on taking away the O. You're undefeated. We're going to come out here and take that from you. So I think that this was a phenomenal situation for this team. Okay, we can't sleep on them. It's gonna, I will get into that another time. But yeah, it was good for them.
No, hey, I totally agree with you. I think the 49ers now come out and be like, hey, we saw what you did to Dallas. Now guess what? Now you get our best. Now
Do it again.
I do think there was potential. Hey, we're overlooking Cardinals because we have to get to Dallas. Because it just so happens that the week after this, we play the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football, and it would have been super easy. You already got your home opener out of the way. You were already motivated. Look past the Cardinals to get to the Cowboys, and now I think it's the exact opposite. Now they're looking squarely at the Cardinals, and it's like, all right, we went undefeated in the division last year. Let's do it again.
Yeah, and luckily they get a 10-day mini bye week to prepare for this game. Not like it's like a huge game, but the Cardinals, they've been competitive in every week. Mike, I saw your tweet before when it was like halftime, and I was like, yeah, they're probably going to lose. Like they've done this for 2 weeks now. They're probably going to be very, very competitive, make it a close game, and then Dallas is going to, pull away, take the lead with a few minutes left in the fourth. They hung on and they pulled away from Dallas, which was impressive. So I don't think they would have been taking them lightly even if they lost today, but they definitely aren't taking them lightly now. And by the way, I just want to say I'm so fucking excited that I have the Monday after Sunday Night Football off. I'm going to Tahoe from the 4th through the 7th. And guys, just heads up, if you ever take a vacation, get the following Monday off as well, because you get that extra long weekend. It's just so much nicer. And I've texted the group chat this. Now is the time to ask for Super Bowl Monday off. It's February 12th. We're 6 months away. Nobody's thinking about it. 5 months away. Go ask for it right now. Nobody probably has it at your job. So just a heads up. Just a nice little friendly suggestion because I got it already. So it's nice to have the day after Super Bowl off. You can do whatever the hell you want, drink whatever the hell you want, and not have to worry about going to work the next day. We're going to do a quick little preview. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about this game that I didn't cover that I forgot to mention?
Yeah. Shout outs to Christian McCaffrey, who scored a touchdown in his 12th straight game. That ties a team record. And he has the potential to break that this coming week against the Cardinals. Dude's just been a stud, straight up.
Sweet, man. It's really impressive what he's done. And the 40, I remember this trade getting a C- grade from ESPN, which is just hilarious. No one is a better. I was told Tony Pollard was as good of a running back as Christian McCaffrey. That certainly doesn't seem to be the case. He certainly isn't a game changer the way Christian McCaffrey is. So I don't know. Mike, is there anything you want to talk about?
Absolutely, man. Kickers matter, man. I want to talk about both of my kickers in this game, man. God, I'm sorry. Jimmy just got leveled on my screen. I'm sorry.
Wrecked.
Oh my God. Both of my kickers, man. Jake Moody, 100% all year long. Bravo. But man, oh man, Mitch Wisnowski with the punts and the placement that he's doing this season has been phenomenal also. He had one bad one. I forget what game it was in. It looked like he was trying to avoid the ball getting tipped and he kind of like shanked it or whatever. But other than that, that might have actually been in preseason. That might have actually been in preseason where he had the bad punt. But man, let me tell you, that was a phenomenal display of kicking ability for the 49ers. And I think that we would be, remiss if we didn't mention both of the kickers, but especially Jake Moody out there doing his thing as a rookie. Very proud of that young man.
Especially since the preseason went the way it went, right? There's all this talk. Is Jake Moody going to be a bust? He's missing these kicks. He's come out. He's scored more than a couple teams, at least going into today. I don't know if that's changed, but he's got 27 points on the season. Some teams haven't even put that up. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, shout out to Jake Moody. Shout out to Mitch. I saw Jordan Elliott, I believe, Splash Cousins. He tweeted out a clip from the Rams game. Was it the Rams? No, sorry, Steelers game, where the kick was blocked and then they ended up being offsides. But Mitch got the edge against TJ Watt. Like very, very impressive, very athletic player. It's that was it rugby that he used to play? So shout out to Mitch. That was very cool. All right, guys, we're going to take a second to thank today's sponsor, and then we're going to do a quick preview of next week's game versus the Arizona Cardinals. So let's try this out. Just want to take a second to thank today's sponsor, MyBookie. As a bettor, you demand perfection, and MyBookie delivers. NFL, college football, and a brand new cash out system gives you options to bet and win all season long. The first 2 legs of your parlay hit, cash out early and use the funds on another bet. Or you could let it ride for the chance of a bigger payday. Join the MyBookie family for a season filled with odds boosts, free bets, and super contests. To get started, all you got to do is super simple. Go to mybookie.ag right now and register for an account for free. That's right, it's free. And whenever it is you're ready to make your first deposit, just use promo code HIVE. It's right here on the screen, HIVE, to grab a welcome bonus on the house. That's our gift to you for being a part of the 49ers Hive family. That's promo code HIVE, HIVE, to claim your deposit bonus. And for a limited time, you also get a free chip to use in the MyBookie casino. You can bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. Now let's get back to the show. All right, guys, go check out
I can't believe
MyBookie.
you did that live. That was a very quick wardrobe change too, dude.
Thank you. I'm very quick. All right, next week, 49ers play the Cardinals at home. Quick things. What are you guys looking forward to seeing? What's a key to victory? We're going to do a preview show later in the week, so we're not going to get too far into this. But Matt, I'll start with you. What's something you're expecting?
Yeah, I'm looking out for health. I expect Brandon Ayuk to play. I think they sat him more as a precaution. Imaging didn't show any structural damage. He was just really sore in the chest shoulder area. No need to play him on such short rest. He gets 10 days to kind of work back, which is good because we need to see how Deebo Samuel's going to come out. He did either land on the ball or his elbow on one of the plays that he was fighting through, and has what looks to be maybe a minor rib injury. How that will affect him going forward with how physically he plays is going to be something. I think that Brandon Ayuk takes a lot of pressure off of Deebo, and vice versa. I think that together on the field that they're a lot better. I think the 49ers are going to have to put up a lot of points against the Cardinals team. We don't want to sleep on them. So I expect and hope that both wide receivers are out there healthy and doing their best to help Brock Purdy out so that we can get another victory.
It would be nice to have Brandon Ayuk back for this game. So we'll see. Mike, what are you looking forward to? What are you expecting? Something to keep an eye on for this game?
I'm gonna start with the penalties. You don't want to go out there and give them anything. This is gonna sound super like contradictory to everything I just said earlier, but I don't expect this to be a close game. I know that sounds like, Mike, you just said that the Niners need it, but I think that the Niners are now in their preparation mode, and it's a little bit different than what we would have been if, like I said, if they went out there and got beat badly. If you go back and look at the actual game and how it shook out, it was a lot of big explosive plays that actually allowed the Cardinals to get the win that they did. The Niners don't typically give up those kind of plays, so I don't expect it to be particularly close. I do expect it to be competitive, however. But the Niners should go out there. They've got the extra days of rest. They've got the extra days of preparation, where they can go out there and make all kinds of adjustments. And Brandon Ayuk will be playing in this game. So I think it's going to be a really, really fun game. I want to see the penalties come down. I also want to see, I was happy to see this week, and I want to see it continue, the use of other running backs, right? It's not that I don't want Christian McCaffrey out there, but each running back brings a little bit of a different punch, so to speak. Matt was talking about how it kind of felt like Mitchell was getting heated up, right? You kind of could feel the gears cranking and all. And I want to see that continue. I would love to see a very healthy 1-2 punch between him and Christian McCaffrey. So those are the kind of things that I want to see. And then from the defense, I want to see us put a lot of pressure on the opposing quarterback. I think the Niners are getting the pressure. And I think that people are disappointed because it's not equating to sacks. And so, what Matt was saying, specifically with Bosa, he's winning all of his reps, right? He's winning all the reps, but just because he's not getting sacked, people seem like, oh, he's not doing what he's supposed to do. To this day, my second favorite Nick Bosa game was the game against the Saints. And he didn't get a single sack in that game. But man, he was beating the hell out of the opposing quarterback in that game. And so I expect to see that happen. I think he will get a couple of sacks in that game, his first multi-sack game of the year. But I also think that it's going to come from other places, other areas of the field, some creative blitzes as well from the defensive coordinator and Steve Wilks. I think the Niners come out there and put together a well-rounded game, and we go out there and take care of business.
And just for perspective on what you're saying about, not necessarily the sacks equating to what the 49ers are actually doing with their pressures. Daniel Jones had 137 yards on 32 attempts. That's 4.2 yards per attempt. I mean, that's pathetic. And that's just a testament to the 49ers defensive line being so good that they have to get the ball out either really fast or it was going to be incomplete. And the memes are going around about Daniel Jones' struggle face the whole time. He looked lost out there. And, it was just one of those things where, yeah, it might not show up necessarily in the traditional stat sheet, but pressure counts, man, and making a quarterback uncomfortable. And we have the potential to do that with Josh Dobbs again. And by the way, I thought the 49ers actually did a really good job containing Daniel Jones with his mobility. That was something we talked about ahead of time. I thought they did a great job of catching up to him a little bit and really like holding him back. I just that they gave up. I'm looking at the team stats now. The Giants had 29 rushing yards. That's not. I mean, that was one Christian McCaffrey run. You know what I mean? Like it. I think that what they're doing is exactly what they need to do, and they're taking advantage. And it's really, people talk about the Eagles and whoever else. I think this 49ers D-line is the best in football.
Yeah, it's hard to argue against that. Couple comments here. Daddy Reef, shout out to Brock, a $900,000 winner. How can you not love that? I saw the tweets going out that Al Michaels made more for calling the game Sunday night than Brock will make this entire season, which, by the way, I love you, Al Michaels, but you are fucking mailing it in at this point. Just retire, bro. I've waited my whole life to see that touchdown pass thrown to Debo in the front end of the end zone. And Debo caught for the touchdown. I'm like, this is not high school football, bro. That was a hell of a throw, hell of a catch. I'd like to see a little more excitement here. And I love Al Michaels. He's a legend, but I think you just got to kind of maybe retire at this point. Also, Matt, I'm glad you brought up Daniel Jones because that's going to be my point to keep an eye on for this next game. Joshua Dobbs can be a mobile quarterback. I think he had a good amount of rushing yards today. And I was very surprised what they did with Daniel Jones last week. I thought for sure if you would have told me the over-under was 50 rushing yards, I probably would have taken the over. But he had nothing. I think he had 5 rushing yards, 2 carries for 5 rushing yards, something like that. So if the 49ers can do the same thing against Joshua Dobbs, because that's how these quarterbacks extend these plays and basically, let something develop further downfield and then find something. So Joshua Dobbs today had 6 carries for 55 yards. 1 yard was 44. 1 long was 44 rushing yards. So it's a little misleading, but still, that long run didn't happen with Daniel Jones against 49ers. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, that's what I was talking about with, their success came on some big explosives, right? So that's kind of what I was talking about. I do want to say that I don't think we as Niner fans should really hang our hat on, we controlled Daniel Jones. I think that was more of a result of the absence of Saquon Barkley. I think that they know that he's going to be gone at least the next week or two. And so they need, if they don't have Jones and Barkley, they have no chance of winning at all. And I think they're aware of that. So I don't think they wanted Jones to go out there and run because there were lanes and he wasn't taking them. It was almost like the Niners were daring him to try to take him, and he just wouldn't do it. He kept his eyes downfield. He moved and navigated in the pocket a little bit, but he never actually just put his foot in the ground and took off, decisively. And I think that comes from them just being a little bit more cautious, saying, hey, it's a short week. We can't afford to lose you right now, especially without Saquon. So we're gonna do what we think is smarter and go out and play that way. Because I mean, if you look at what he had, what was it? You said 2 attempts for 5 yards, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Tyrod Taylor had 1 attempt for 2. Like, there's no reason for Tyrod to come in there and do exactly what he was doing, and he only did it for 1 or 2 plays. So I just think that was part of more of a game plan thing than it was the Niners actually preventing him from doing it. But it's not to say that we haven't worked on it. I think we all know that that's been kind of the Achilles heel of the Niners defenses for the last 6 seasons, is those athletic quarterbacks, those guys that can actually get out there and get on the move. We will see a little bit more of it going forward. But this game, I won't say, we fixed it. We corrected the woes. We did what we needed to do. I'm not confident in that just yet.
Yeah. Agreed.
Hey, Mike, I think you're underselling former 49ers legend Matt Breida, bro. He was there. They had chances to make. Never mind. No, I see what you're saying. I just think that, either way you slice it, whether he chose not to take those, which I have a hard time with that because of the nature of the player that Daniel Jones is. It's hard to coach that out of somebody, that inclination to take off and run. I just thought that the 49ers defense just played better and that the Giants were in over their skis. Even with Saquon Barkley, I don't think the game plays out too terribly different. Saquon Barkley is a really good player, but the 49ers against the run have traditionally been really, really good. So who knows what would have happened? Again, we take the victories as we can get them. So, in that case, it is what it is. But it will be interesting to see that if it is a byproduct of what was going on with the Giants, or if they're able to contain Josh Dobbs as well, who looked very mobile against the Cowboys today.
All right, guys, I think that's going to do it for this show. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in this Sunday evening, Sunday night, depending on where you are. Hit like, hit subscribe. We will be bringing these shows to you multiple times a week, so you don't want to miss a thing. If you're watching this after it's aired, leave a comment, even if you're just commenting, I don't know, your favorite ice cream flavor. It helps more than you know with the algorithm. It's dumb shit. So, thank you. I always forget. Let's get a chat pack in. You two gentlemen discuss something so there's no dead air.
I actually have a question for you while you're shuffling. So I noticed in the my bookie portion of the show that your ring was on your pointer and now it's on your pinky. Why do you so when I take my wedding ring off sometimes and I actually put it on my pinky when I feel like I don't know if it's certain meals that I eat, I feel like my fingers kind of swell up a little bit or something, I don't know, or it just feels like it's sticky under there and I want to let my finger air out some. So is that why you alternate where the ring goes, or is that just a happenstance thing?
I have different sized rings, so like this is a pinky ring. And then I have one.
So it's not the same one.
No, it's not the same one.
Oh, okay.
And then I have some that fit my
Let's be real. He's like Fred Savage and Austin Powers with Gold. Member, the mole just keeps moving around on his face. That's all it is. Optical illusion.
Absolutely love it, man. I love it. Hey, I wanted to ask you guys, and Matt, I guess I can bounce this off of you really quick. When you're watching the 49ers secondary, are you concerned about any of the players back there at all?
I am. I'm concerned about what we're doing in the slot, especially. And then on the other side of it, I look at down and distance and certain situations like that where I feel like it'll be a 2nd and 13 or something like that. And they play so soft that they'll give up a 7-yard completion. And instead of, potentially, a 3rd down and whatever, it's like a 3rd down and medium, 3rd down and short. And I think that, to me, because I don't think that any of the corners are the most athletically gifted, if that makes sense, I think that this goes back to maybe last year with Miami and a couple of other teams. They're afraid to give up the big play, so they'll settle for the underneath stuff and hope that the D-line can get home ahead of time. I think it's a little bit too conservative in the secondary, in my opinion. They're opportunists when they do get a shot. I think that they are a little bit ball hawks. Hufanga had another interception on a tip that I thought was really good. So they're very much bend don't break in that secondary, and against a better team, I could see that becoming a little bit of an issue.
All right, I got one here. Of all the great success stories that you have heard or read about, which one do you find the most inspiring? In chat, please feel free to comment your answers as well. Of all the great success stories you have heard or read about, which one do you find the most inspiring? I have one in mind. It's kind of funny. Not to get political, the My Pillow guy. This dude was a homeless crackhead smoking crack out on the street. And he decided one day, I don't know if maybe the cement was too hard, I need to make pillows. Like, I need to make pillows, and I'm going to make them very good and very affordable. I have his pillows on my bed right now. They're very good. My dog has one of his beds. They're very good. Like, I like the My Pillow guy. I know he's very political, so take the politics out of it, but it's a success story. He was a crackhead. Now he's probably a millionaire. So Shout out to Mike Lindell at MyPillow. You do text me a little too much with all your sales going on, but shout out to MyPillow. That's my answer.
I actually have one, and I don't remember the name of the company. So when I first started working for the state, I was learning about investing from my supervisor, and he told me this story about this company. They were a glue company, all right, and there was, I think I told this on here before, maybe I didn't, I don't know. But it was a glue company, and they specialized in the glue that they use in like Formica countertops, right? Like not the marble and all that stuff, but all the crushed up wood and everything. Like that was their specialty. And this big national conglomerate came in and started buying all the other companies like that. All right. And so they kept getting these proposals from this company, and they were like, no, we're not going to sell. We're not going to sell. Their entire board fell apart. They people started leaving, and two guys said, no, we started this thing. We're going to stick to it. We're going to see it through. This is our bread and butter. We don't want to sell. We don't want to sell. It turns out that the national conglomerate that was buying all the other glue companies bowed out, and then they became the only one at the time. So they went from, bottoming out, losing money, hand over fist for years. But they chose to stick to their guns. They stuck to something that they believed in, and it just wasn't important in the grand scheme of things when the bigger company came in and tried to take over that portion of the industry. And now, well, not now, but at the time I was learning about them, they were the only company in the entire world that did that provided that kind of glue or adhesive for those countertops. I imagine that other companies have jumped into it now, but it was pretty cool to see. They instantly became multi-millionaires overnight because that one company said, you know what, these guys are stubborn and it's not worth it to us. We have the Gorilla Glue coming out and all these other different glue companies and offsets coming out. We don't need to be worried about the countertop glue. We can take over the school glues and the crazy glues and all that stuff. So it was a really cool story. And the reason that's inspiring to me is because it's like, just stick to your guns. Like if you have something that you're passionate about, fucking stick with it. Like you don't need to be the best. You don't need to be the only one. If it's something that's passionate for you and you are finding a way to provide a living for your family, stick to it no matter what.
All right. I love it. Matt?
I just think that not necessarily like a rags to riches or like success story. It's more about perseverance. And I'm kind of a history buff. I go back to that famous quote from who I'm talking about, Thomas Edison. He was asked because he had a lot of experiments, a lot of them didn't work out, and he was trying to create the light bulb. And it just wasn't working out for him. And somebody asked him about his failures, and he said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." And I think that it's very easy to go through trials and tribulations in your life and give up and find an excuse to not push on. But when you can look and grow from your failures and use that as motivation to push you further, I think that that's one of the best success stories that you could ever have. And Thomas Edison is probably the most prolific inventor that we have in terms of, as the patents that he has and all that. So definitely Thomas Edison. It's no matter what, it's only a failure if you give up and don't learn anything from it.
All right. That's an awesome answer. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I appreciate you guys spending your Sunday evening, Sunday night with us. Like I said earlier, hit like, hit subscribe, leave a comment if you're watching after. Copy the link, share it on social media. All these things help in the algorithm more than you would think. Mike, thank you for spending your Sunday night with us as well. Let the folks know where to find you. I'm sure they're already subscribed, but in case they aren't.
No, I'm just going to plug the Patreon right now. I'm having a lot of fun over on Patreon. If you guys aren't there already, head on over to patreon.com/NB9ERS. You see it right here along the bottom of the screen. So guys, head on over there, show some support. We do I don't want to make it sound illegal on your channel, but we have a lot of fun on game days. You guys get a chance to experience the game with us over there. But there's also a lot of bonus content and a lot of bonus episodes, podcasts that aren't necessarily about the 49ers even over there. So head on over patreon.com/NB9ERS. We do have 3 different tiers. The higher up in the tiers you go, the more things that are available to you, giveaways and prizes and things like that. So head on over there. We have something for everybody, for all walks and shapes of life.
All right. Go check it out, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Matt, you want to carry us out?
Absolutely. Real quick before we go, shout outs. My daughter is 1 month old today. I've been enjoying that. It's been a privilege and honor and such a fun ride. So shout outs to her. I can't wait to keep watching her grow. That being said, another great week of 49ers football, 3-0. We have the potential to go 4-0, long break. So hopefully the 49ers can get a little more healthy, regroup, get to continue on at home in comfortable surroundings with the Arizona Cardinals, who are coming off a big win against the Cowboys. We will preview that game for you guys later this week. It's a long wait. I feel like it's already been forever since we saw the 49ers, but hopefully it'll all be good things and the 49ers can be 4-0 after this coming week. So on behalf of Mike, Zach, myself, thank you so much, you guys, for joining us here tonight. We love having you here. And until next time, go Niners.